Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
Safety in a way never heard of before. The Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
General Motors officials say they will not need to make any salaried job layoffs after enough white-collar workers have agreed to take a voluntary buyout. CEO Mary Barra says in an email they've saved about $1 billion due to cuts announced in February and the employees who chose to leave. The automaker plans to cut $2 billion from its cost by the end of the year. Apple is handing out pink slips to some of its employees. Nika Magajes reports.
The tech giant is eliminating roles within its corporate retail teams. The groups are responsible for the construction and maintenance of Apple retail stores and other facilities around the world. It's currently not clear how many workers will be affected, but Bloomberg reports the number is likely very small. The company says the cuts are a way to improve operations rather than a cost-cutting measure.
Volkswagen is recalling more than 143,000 Atlas SUVs over an airbag-related issue. According to the automaker, the wiring in some of the vehicle's front passenger detection systems could be faulty, causing the airbag not to deploy in a crash. The recall affects the 2018 through 2021 Atlas and 2020 Atlas Cross Sport vehicles. President Biden is welcoming Finland to NATO. Trey Thomas with more.
As the country's national anthem played, Finland became the 31st member of the U.S.-led security alliance Tuesday, a historic policy shift brought on by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Biden said NATO is more united than ever and is strengthened by its newest ally, which shares a border with Russia.
Hundreds of undercover police officers are filing legal claims against the Los Angeles Police Department and the city. Attorney Matthew McNicholas represents 321 officers.
This presents a significant threat to the safety of the citizens of Los Angeles.
Tuesday's move comes after a technology watchdog group posted the officers' names and images online. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
It's always amazing to me on how technology changes, and so does the environment that we're in. And cyber criminals will do everything they can to take advantage of a system. If you don't own a home, you have nothing to fear about what I'm about to tell you. But if you own a home like me and you don't guard it with home title lock, you're inviting home title fraud. One of the fastest growing crimes. Cyber thieves around the world know our home values are sky high at the moment, and that makes us a target. The crime is scary simple. Let me explain it to you real quick. A cyber thief simply forges your name on a property sale form and refiles it. That's it. Now he or she is on the deed of your home and you have no idea that you're a victim. Then the person takes out a loan on your home and vanishes, leaving you to prove to the police that you didn't commit bank fraud. Home Title Locks puts a virtual barrier around your home title. The instant they detect any kind of tampering or anybody messing around, they help shut it down. Look, if you have equity in your home, you need to guard it the best way that you can. Some people might even go as far as guarding it with their life. Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you already are a victim. And enter the code RADIO. That's RADIO. That's the code RADIO for 30 days free of protection. That's code RADIO at HometitleLock.com.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you going to do? You're going to go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Tearing the ass out of you like gas station sushi.
Okay, there you go. 16 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out. So listen, I'm going to tell you, if you are on the streamer, you're probably going to get the first few minutes cut off, especially if you're doing the video aspect. But if you are on the radio side of the house and you are hanging out on the podcast, well, you know how it goes. It's as close to real time as we get, depending on which radio station you're on. One could be like 20 seconds and the other one's like a minute. So sorry, let's just be real. In regards to what's going on. So let's start talking. Let's talk real quick about what the hell's going on the top of the shit list, because that is part of the thing that we do. You know, doing that thing you do around here, it's kind of a crucial aspect of everything that is going on. So let's start talking right away. One of the outcomes for people living in states hit by heavy storms last week, the IRS is giving filers more time to submit their taxes. I'm glad that that's a nice thing. Arkansas residents hit by tornadoes will have until July the 31st to file, so that's some time. People that living in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, New York, and California will also have an extension, some as late as October, so there you go. And worth noting, the IRS has been backlogged and slow for years, so the pandemic made it even worse, and this gives them more of a bit of more wiggle room to get the information processed too. So I guess look at it as a good, bad thing, bad, good thing, whatever, however you want to take a look at it, because some people will still say, well, that sucks, because it does, but it's a good thing. Not that you went through a storm, but that you might have a little bit of an extension. Not that kind of extension.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
You know, without me being here on Monday, I'm so thrown off that today is Whip 'em Out Wednesday. It's not Tuesday. It is Whip 'em Out Wednesday. So we should talk about that because we can't go a Wednesday without talking about that because that's an important aspect of what we do. So we'll talk more about Whip 'em Out Wednesday, at least reference it about 1,000 times before the show's set and done. Because why would you not want to do that? So anyways, how much is it supposed to cost to identify places where wild animals cross busy roads and set up road signs that warn drivers? Well, the Department of Transportation ballparks it at about $111 million for a pilot program. Funds are becoming available for the state and local governments and Native American reservations to study and post signs in exactly these areas. It's about $350 million in the pot for such a program. So there you go. 111 is not the whole thing. Those are for programs that are coming across the country. This is the first particular program that will roll out in New Mexico along a stretch that has been particularly perilous for drivers encountering mountain lions. This is according to the Associated Press. So let me give you a good idea. If your car is to break down, I don't know if getting out of this damn thing would be a good idea, especially if mountain lions are big in the area if you're looking at it.
More sarcasm than Mortal Kombat beatdown. Rated R Safety Show.
So there you go. So a lot of stuff going on. How weird it is sometimes with some of this world as we take a look. Oh, by the way, before I forget, because I just looked over at that system, if you do the social media stuff, if you're online doing the video, blah, 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 I don't pay attention to a lot of it. Just a little action, just for information. But if you do go to call-in radio, there is a better chance that I will be paying attention to that because that's just how my world works when I'm looking at Inspector Gadget. So there you go. Some stuff to think about as you are talking. Anyways, another miracle story of a young child surviving a disaster. This time it's coming out of Turkey, where a 3-month-old girl survived over 128 hours of unharmed in rubble after earthquakes in February before rescuers found her. So that's a long time. I mean, let's just be realistic. It took until last week to reunite the baby with the mother. So think about this. Think about this as a parent. Your kid is affected by the earthquakes that happened. All of a sudden, you don't find this child for a period of time, because it is definitely a period of time. And then all of a sudden, they're able to reunite your child with you. I mean, what string of emotions did you go through just to get there? I mean, it is great emotions at the end that you were able to locate the child. Don't get me wrong there. But the whole time went through where you thought, well, the worst. It's just kind of the way that it goes. It's just mind-boggling. Well, let's talk about some things. Remember Charles Javis? Yes, she sold an app to JP Morgan that promised to help students find financial aid going to college, but was suspected of vastly overestimating the number of users the site had. Well, JP Morgan sued her back in January. Now she's been arrested following charges filed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. The complaint alleges that Javis said that there was 4.25 million users on the site, when in reality there were fewer than 1/10 of that number. So that's enough to get her arrested. It was enough to get her arrested on Monday night. She faces some heavily time behind bars, as CNN points out that she is being charged with one of the count of conspiracy to commit banking and wire fraud, and one count of wire fraud, one count of bank fraud, and one count of securities fraud. If convicted, each count carries a sentence that could mean decades behind prison. Decades. I mean, I don't understand this sometimes. Why do people over-exaggerate what is going on? Do you not think that somebody's going to come back and vet all this shit? No, seriously, it's just, I don't understand. And listen, everybody has to do their own thing. Everybody has to do their own gig, whatever. However you want to interpret what needs to happen. But, geez, man. Geez Louise. Think about these things before you do it.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
So there you go with O. So let's talk about the charts because that is always important as we are doing this. So let's talk about the top 5 fiction and nonfiction books currently on the New York Times bestsellers list. So going into the fiction category, it goes something like this. At number 5, Countdown is at number 5. At number 4, It Ends With Us. At number 3, Daisy Jones and the Six. At number 2 is Lessons in Chemistry. And at the number 1 spot, It Starts With Us. If you go to the other side of the equation and look at the nonfiction category, it's number 5 is I'm Glad My Mom Died. At number 4, The Body Keeps the Score. At number 3, Spare. At number 2, we're looking at Saved. And at the number 1, Poverty by America. So there you go. That's a nonfiction category. Those are the books according to the New York Times bestsellers list. Each 5 of each category. So there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. A lot of stuff going on there. Do you want to talk about numbers or do you want to get swampy? Let's get swampy first. Former President Donald Trump pleaded not guilty on Tuesday for 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. In a statement in Manhattan District Court, Alvin Bragg said that the basis of the business integrity as well as a functioning business marketplace is true and accurate record keeping, and that's the charge of falsifying New York State business records. Even Mitt Romney is suspicious of the motivation to indict Trump, saying that in the statement that Bragg has stretched to reach felony criminal charges in order to fit political agenda. Romney took the opportunity to remind people that he still thinks that Trump is unfit to office. So, I mean, he stated his opinion. Either way, true to form, the former commander-in-chief is turning the scandal into business opportunities. His campaign raked in over $10 million last week. So go figure. Also, yesterday, the Ninth Circuit Court awarded Trump more than $120,000 in additional legal fees connected to the defamation case filed by Stormy Daniels. An attorney turned the convicted felon Michael Afanti in 2018. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on right there as we are talking about it. So anyways, with that being said, let's get moving and grooving real quick. Let's get some John Smalls inside of here and let him tell you about what the hell's going on in the market.
Here's your Market Beat Minute for Wednesday, April 5th, brought to you by GenesisGoldIRA.com. Equity markets pulled back Tuesday after posting a small gain in the preceding session. The move was driven by concerns sparked by the spike in oil prices caused by OPEC. The rise in oil prices should bring another round of windfall profits to the oil industry and inflation. When inflation reaccelerates, the FOMC can be counted on to increase interest rates to match, which might break the economy. Labor data will be a driving force in the markets this week. The JOLTS report showed a surprise fall in job openings that may be echoed by weakness in the ADP and NFP reports. The key metric, however, will be the wage gains running in the high single-digit range. You can get the inside track from Wall Street's brightest minds delivered directly to your inbox every day at MarketBeatMinute.com.
Okay, thank you, John Smalls, for the information on what is going on inside of the world. Let me tell you a little bit about the information that I was able to locate. The Dow lost about 207 points to close at 33,394 on Tuesday. The S&P lost about 27 points to close at 4,098. The Nasdaq lost about 71 points to close at 12,112. West Texas Intermediate closed at $80 a barrel, and Brent crude closed at 85. The national average price of a gallon of gas was $3.51 on Tuesday. Bitcoin was up to 1.15%, trading around $28,138. There were hold on, let me see. The flight delay section is out, so I can't really share that with you today. So there you go. But tonight's Powerball drawing will be for $170 million, just in case if you care about that. So you get to play the game if you want to play the game. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on right there. Let's take some news dives real quick. Let's talk about some other things. The National City Council is repelling the decades-old ban on cruising. This is out of National City, California. Take a listen.
The popular pastime prohibited for more than 3 decades when city leaders approved the ban in an attempt to address crime and traffic. Cities and towns across California are currently permitted to pass their own cruising bans, which several have done.
The low rider is a little higher.
lowriders have long argued the ordinances designed to curb cruising unfairly targeted Latinos. But now there is currently legislation in the state assembly, AB 436, inspired by National City, to make cruising legal across the state once again. I'm Phil Farrar.
Okay, thank you, Phil Farrar. Didn't expect the lowrider aspect of it, but there you go. Some stuff going on inside of there. So there you go. Let's start talking a little bit more about some other things. I guess the Trump thing apparently is just going to be all over the news today. This is coming out of Palm Beach, Florida. Florida President Trump is responding to the criminal charges against him. NBC News' Dasha Burns recaps his primetime response on Tuesday night at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida.
He was defending himself. He was also on the attack, attacking the Manhattan DA, also attacking the judge in this case, which could potentially complicate matters further for Mr. Trump and his legal team.
Okay, so Trump has said that everyone who looked at the case against him says that there is none. He added that he had never thought of anything like this could happen in America, saying that the only crime that he committed was to fiercely defend our nation. This is miswritten. Fearlessly is what it should say. Fearlessly defend our nation against those who seek to destroy it. Trump faces dozens of criminal counts in New York City related to alleged illegal hush money payments to kill negative information before the 2016 election. Wasn't that the grab him by the... No, is that the right year? Yeah. Okay. And NBC's Dasha Burns says that Donald Trump's presidential campaign for 2024 is taking full advantage of legal trouble.
His campaign has been sending out emails looking to fundraise, sending out emails raising money off of indictment swag. He is hoping to capitalize on this moment politically.
Can someone tell me what indictment swag looks like? Because I would like to have a better idea. If you want to shoot it over, you're more than welcome to. But, I mean, let's talk about that. That's kind of an interesting one. I guess let's stay in New York for a moment. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is ordering more budget cuts. Scott Pringle has some more information.
Mayor Adams is asking most city agencies to trim spending by 4% for the coming fiscal year. That includes the police department. The Department of Education and City University of New York were asked to make 3% cuts. The mayor's office says the cuts are necessary because of the migrant crisis, proposed state budget cuts, and labor costs. A letter from the budget director to the department heads only gives them a week and a half to detail how they'll make the cuts. Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio, New York.
Okay, thank you, Scott, for that information right there. I will tell you, there are 4 more stories about Trump. Do we need to go over these next court? More hearings. Well, I mean, we can go through it. Listen to this because I'll tell you about what's next. Former President Donald Trump is not scheduled to be back in the Lower Manhattan courtroom until December the 4th. Yes, December the 4th, following yesterday's historic arraignment. Scott Pringle shares the news.
A trial will not likely happen until next year. NBC legal analyst Danny Savelos thinks Trump's defense teams will file several motions to try and get the case tossed, delaying things possibly close to the election. Savelos thinks District Attorney Alvin Bragg will have a tough time with this case.
Alvin Bragg has taken 2 misdemeanors and made them into a felony. You better bet that Trump supporters are going to seize on that as evidence of a political prosecution.
Trump pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in connection with concealing several hush money payments. Scott Pringle, NBC News Radio, New York.
Okay, thanks, Scott Pringle. Got one more for you before we get into the main. Here you go. Hundreds of undercover police officers are filing legal claims against the Los Angeles Police Department and the city. Attorney Matthew McNichols represents about 321 officers.
This presents a significant threat to the safety of the citizens of Los Angeles.
Tuesday's move comes after technology watchdog group posted officers' names and images online. The LAPD says it inadvertently released the officers' information last month after complying with a public records request. An all-watchdog group called the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition posted the details about 9,300 officers in a searchable online database. However, the database doesn't identify which one of the officers work undercover. McNichols says the release of the undercover officers' names and photos is already compromising the investigation.
Several undercover operations have had to stop.
Let's see. LAPD Chief Michael Moore, yes, not like that other Michael Moore. Michael Moore also calls the release of undercover officers' names and photos concerning.
We are not a secret police department. We don't operate behind anonymity. At the same time, there are legitimate public safety and officer safety concerns.
So think about that for a second. You're undercover doing X, Y, and Z, and all these pictures get released. You don't think that some people are looking at that? What the hell's wrong with you? Of course they are. Of course they are. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about some difficult subjects today. So let's do it. It is currently 33 minutes past the top of the hour.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Listen, sometimes we have to talk about the rough stuff, and we have to talk about the things that we don't want to talk about, and we have to talk about incidents that occur in workplaces that we go and we take a look at and go, oh, shit, we never expected this to happen. And listen, I'm not trying to have a morbid whip 'em out Wednesday, that is for sure, but we have to talk about this. I want you to think about the interactions that we have at work and the interactions that we have that we tell people, hey, you need to do this for us to be safer as an organization. I want you to think about it. Let's say, for instance, you work at a place where they tell you that you have to have safety glasses on regardless of what the hell is going on 100% of the times. And you interact with that organization and you're like, hey, safety glasses, this. Even if you do this number where you point at the glasses as you're walking by somebody and point at them, and they actually have to put their safety glasses down, that is a version of an interaction. Probably not the best kind of interaction, but it's an interaction. So you have actually communicated with someone else on what you want to transpire in regards of them putting on the safety glasses, just kind of the way that it goes. So now you have had an interaction with that person. But imagine that is something that occurs at this site of work, and there's interactions that are taking place. You didn't go to the person and talk to them and say, hey, this is what's going on. You need to wear your safety glasses, and this is the concern. Why did you not put them on? Or even have a conversation, is everything okay? Trying to find out if there's more to the reason. But the interaction was simplified. So now there is this thought process of what kind of things are going on within the organization if that's the only way that you're going to care about someone. Think about it. So you have an incident similar to this that occurs day in, day out. And you have quite a few people that work on the site. I mean, you think about it and you go, there's an interaction. But what happens on the day that the catastrophic event occurs? And maybe we should talk about this. Because a lot of times people don't know exactly what we mean by catastrophe. I'm not talking about somebody bumping their head. Don't get me wrong, it's still something bad that occurred. But when you have something that's catastrophic that happens, I'm talking death, dismemberment, disability from that particular point on because the event was so big that occurred. But we all know the deaths that occur on an organizational floor in regards of whatever the hell the organization does changes the environment not once but forever. Think about that. I mean, think about it for a moment. Because it's really difficult to understand this sometimes if you have a work environment where things don't affect you like that. Meaning that you work in a place where the person next door, the worst thing that could happen is they get cut by a paperclip. And yeah, think about how difficult that would be. But imagine that your work environment consisted of something that today you could be working and doing the work that you do normally. And then you show up tomorrow and a person that you worked with is no longer there. And not because they quit, because they died on the floor of the organization. I'm not trying to be morbid today. I'm really not. But I want you to think of these things differently because it is difficult for people to understand this if you're not out there doing the work. So that transactional interaction that you had about some damn safety glasses and having them on 100% of the time, how are people going to look at you going forward? How are they going to assess this transaction that you had? When you have a catastrophic event that occurred, how are they going to expect for you to move forward? And listen, there's about 1,000 different conversations that we could spindle away in regards of talking about this. But what do you think about? What comes to mind when this comes up, when this conversation occurs? Because that's what drives me crazy when we start talking. I start looking at this from the standpoint of, how do you look at this? How does the interaction occur? How do things happen? And when this major catastrophic event occurs inside of the organization, how does the workers look at what's going on inside of the environment? Because listen, as we pay attention to what is going on in work, how do you recoup from the catastrophic event? How do things move? Somebody said this a few days ago to me, and I thought it was genius. When you have the major thing that's going on at work, when you have this specialty move that's occurring, you know that everything is going to be pre-planned. I'm talking about, you're going to have a person that views this, some backup method of that. You're going to have the person that does X, Y, and Z viewing this high-risk work that's been expected. But where people normally die in an organization, out in the field, is doing normal work. Not the high-end specialty stuff, because it's always so super planned out. It is normally occurring in normal work. If you think about anything that we just spoke about, think about that aspect today, because I think that one will have the most impact overall. Seriously. Now, that's something to truly think about today.
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
So, do you feel like you're missing out on what everyone is starting to do now? That live streaming thing, and you don't know where to start or what to do? I have the resource and the information to provide to you in regards on how you can stream onto 40 social media platforms all at one time. Yes, that's 40 social media platforms all at one time. All you'll need to do is go to safetyfm.com/1. That's safetyfm.com/1. That's ONE. So just in case, and you'll be able to start live streaming just like you're hearing people starting to do right now, up to 40 social media platforms.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. Former President Trump's launched a blistering attack on the New York prosecutor who charged him. There have been clashes in Jerusalem between Israeli police and Palestinian worshippers. India's abstained from voting on a UN resolution to extend the investigation into Russia's alleged war crimes in Ukraine. And King Charles's wife Camilla's referred to as Queen for the first time by Buckingham Palace as coronation invitations are sent out.
You are listening to a Radio God. What? This has to be an error. That host is not a Radio God. Anyways, this is the Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Safety trainers still preaching a warped version. How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Polzel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Warning. Listening to other radio stations could cause testicle shrinkage.
I'm talking the truth. I hope mine do so. Give me your best and your worst and keep me patient. There are some things that we can't go change. Bringing my love without any hesitation. Give me your best and your worst and keep me patient. Give me your best and your
So when I say we play a little bit of everything, we really do. Anyways, this is the Jay Allen in the Morning Show, hour number 1, as we refer to it as the Rated R Safety Show. At least hour number 1 of this thing. Anyways, this song right here is Best and Worst by Lua Flora. Thanks to Lua Flora for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show.
lost in my haze.
You can give it a little stream off of Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube Music. Yeah, some little vibes going on right there, that's for sure. So let's get into what we do on this Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Not that we're going to do that, but you get the gist there of what the hell is going on. So let's start talking a little bit more. And let me tell you about the most important thing that I will tell you at any point in my lifetime. And that is about my friends at 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They can help prevent suicide, and the Lifeline provides 24/7 free and confidential support for people in distress and prevention and crisis resources for you and your loved ones, and the best practices for professionals in the United States. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to 988lifeline.org. That's 988lifeline.org, or you can text the word TALK to 988 or call 988. If you do those couple of things, that will get you moving and grooving into some different directions. I know that it is sometimes very difficult to find people to talk to, especially if you're kind of concerned about this in particular. And you might need to talk to someone that you don't know. Yes, as odd as that sounds, talk to someone you don't know. This will be the best resource for you in that particular regards. So I would love for you to contact them if you are struggling. If not, share the information with others. This might be the most important thing that you ever say in your lifetime. Seriously. I mean, that's the way that I feel about it, and I'm not joking. And I want to make sure that I'm clear about this. I talk about them. They're not a sponsor of the show. There are not ads for the show or anything along that lines. I just think that this is so important to talk about every single day. I really do. I really, really do. And I think that the more common we make this conversation, the better it'll be for us all. And I'm not joking as I say that. So to keep that in mind as we are talking. It is currently 47 minutes past the top of the hour as we are still hanging out on this fantastic Wednesday as we are talking. So take a listen to some things that are going on, because the world just gets weirder and weirder as we are looking at some of this stuff. So I don't even know where to start as we are talking. As a matter of fact, do I want to talk about spaghetti for millennials? Do I want to talk about this? Not really, but take a listen. Well, not really, but let's do it anyways. Yeah, that's the SpaghettiO jingle.
Eat brown spaghetti that'll stay on your spoon.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. A childhood staple of the 60s and the 70s are now stepped up their flavors for millennials. Take a listen to what Bree Tennis has to say about it.
We've been eating SpaghettiO since 1965, and it was the best invention since the napkin, so their slogan says. There are 13 varieties to choose from. Well, now 14, because they just introduced a new flavor. This one designed to hit that nostalgia moment with millennials. It's SpaghettiO Spicy Original, and it's loaded with Frank's Red Hot Sauce. They say it's a mild to medium heat level, and it's sold nationwide for $1.59. I'm Bree Tennis, NBC News Radio.
So there you go, a new flavor for you if you're interested in regards of, I guess, getting some SpaghettiOs. Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me. So there you go. Take a listen to this. The Chicago Fire Department is mourning the death of one of their own. Hold on, now my whole computer system just decided to take a little kink, a little work action for you in regards of what was going on there. Let's see if we can just reload it, because that's what's going to end up taking place. I have to tell you, I love some of these systems that we use, but like I always like to state, if you know me, is that technology at some point in life will manage to fail you. And if it doesn't do that, I will be totally shocked, because that's what technology does. Once you become dependent on it, the level of failure can still occur. So don't worry about that stuff. Just kind of the way that it goes. Well, it looks like my eyes and ears on that story has fallen out, or maybe let's see. It looks like they're trying to upload it on the other side as we are taking a look. Well, instead of actually putting you through that torture of waiting to this to come through, do you want to wait, or do you want to see it? Matter of fact, no. The story's back now on my computer. Welcome to live radio, just kind of the way that it goes. Anyways, the Chicago Fire Department is mourning the death of one of their own. The father of the firefighter, Jermaine Pelt, spoke after his son died while battling an extra alarm house fire yesterday morning at the West Pullman neighborhood. Take a listen to this.
Jermaine was just a joy to all our family. Everybody loved him.
You know, I never understand how a parent can deal with that. And it's one of those weird interaction things that we have to talk about. And let's just talk about this, because I know it's one of those weird things that people go, you know, you can't believe in some of these time sequencing things, but it's never the intent, or at least life doesn't seem to be working out that way, where the child passes away before the parent. And if it does, I just can't imagine how that works. Like, it's not like we're trying to normalize one of those things, one over the other, but it's kind of one of those weird things where you think about it and you go, what the hell? Like, what the hell? Like, this is not the way that life is supposed to go. It's just one of those very weird things. Anyway, so let's talk about this. Paul Valles is congratulating Brandon Johnson on being elected for the mayor of Chicago. Valles told his supporters that it's important that we come together as a city, keeping it in Chicago. Take a listen to this.
It's critically important that we use this opportunity to come together, and I've offered him my full support on his transition.
So the former CPS CEO considered last night, after losing a close race to Johnson, outgoing Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Governor J.P. Pritzker also congratulated him on his victory. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on in Chicago, really in Illinois, if you kind of really think about the whole thing. But there you go. So some stuff. Anyways, let's do this. It is currently, 52 after. Matter of fact, I'm really like 51 after. But let's go ahead and do the Motivation Minute, because why wouldn't you want to be motivated for a minute by John Smalls? Let's do that right now.
The Motivation Minute is courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. Today's quote was submitted by Becky. Candy Dombrowski said, "Leaders replace the word I with we in all communication. We came up with this idea. We worked hard on this project. We hit a home run with the event. We made a difference today." I love that. Okay, it would have been weird for me to say we love that. But this is something that I've done for quite some time. Now, I didn't read it in a book. I just did it because I knew it was not me. It was my amazing team who helped me make it happen. When we hit a goal, we hit the goal. When we brought on a new client, we did it together. It was most definitely not just me. It was a team of people who helped me get to where I am, and they all deserve credit too. This has been today's Motivation Minute, courtesy of InsuranceChicken.com. They're known for insurance quotes. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Your Wellness Minute is brought to you by AlysaMorgan.com. What is your best way to remember valuable information? There is no one method, but there's a few valuable things from research. According to Dr. Andrew Huberman, when we hear information from, say, a lecture, a podcast, or an audiobook, and we write down key takeaways by hand, the recall of that information is very strong. Taking typewritten notes can also work, but not as well as writing by hand. This likely has to do with the fact that our motor cortex and limbs evolved using fine dexterity whole limb movement as a key source of feedback about the accuracy of our memories. In fact, even just drawing a diagram that summarizes information and makes sense only to you can greatly enhance your recall of that information. For more about wellness, check out AlysaMorgan.com.
It's this show, and they just make fun of a whole bunch of people. It's just too funny. It's too stupid.
Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so there you go. 54 after on this Whip 'em Out Wednesday. There is no doubt about that it is Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Outside of that, I don't know what else in my life I really can confirm as I think about it. So there you go. There you go. There you go. Some things going on right there. Let's talk about this real quick. A man from Colorado has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for lewd acts on a child in Ventura County. Daniel Martindale has more.
Prosecutors say the 55-year-old had sexual contact with an underage victim several times across the county between 2007 and 2012. The victim came forward to police in 2018 after finding out the man had been arrested in connection with a separate sex crime in Colorado. The man was convicted of the other sex crime and is currently serving an 8-year prison term in Colorado. I'm Daniel Martindale.
Okay, thank you, Daniel Martindale, for sharing the information on the things that is going on. I talked about this earlier, but let me just go into more specific. Barbara Walters was forced to leave the seat on The View by ABC, according to former co-host Lisa Ling. Ling, who co-hosted The View from 1999 to 2022, recently shared a tidbit of on The Cut, explaining that Walters confided in her that the network was making her quit when she announced her exit in 2014. I've never shared this with anyone, Ling added. Many may recall that Walters created The View back in 1997. She's not only the co-host of the daytime talk show for 17 seasons, but served as the executive producer until her death in 2022. It is unclear why Ling decided to share this secret now, because we're talking about it. That would be the reason why she decided to share the news. I mean, what the hell else? Controversy creates cash. We talk about this all the time. So does she have something new that she's trying to sell? Sorry, not being a dick, but it's the way that the things work. That's for sure. Anyways, take a listen to this. Let's talk about some dates, and this is probably one of the biggest impactful dates of things that occurred. Back on this date in 1994, Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain dies from self-inflicted gunshot wound fueled by drug overdose. Some say that his wife Courtney Love engineered his murder, but Cobain notoriously struggled with addiction. That happened back in 1994. If you're looking at some birthdays for today, I have some of those. Dominic Mysterio turns 26. He's a wrestler. Lily James turns 34. Charlotte Flair 37. Phil Wickman 39. Haley Anthill turns 41. Zach Baggins 46. Stephen K. Brown 47. Juicy J turns 48. Pharrell Williams turns 50. Mike McCready turns 57. And Agla Falsco turns 73 today. If you're looking at some days of the year to celebrate, I have some of those for you. It's National Walking Day. I think you're going to celebrate that regardless for the most part. National Caramel Day. First Contact Day. National Deep Dish Pizza Day. If I could pull it off today, I would definitely try that one. National Read a Roadmap Day. Hospital Admitting Clerks Day. National Go for Broke Day. And Child Help National Day of Hope. So there you go. A lot of stuff going on right there as we are talking. Let's see if anything's coming in hot. Yeah, let's do this one. This one's coming in right off the newscaster. Take a listen to this. Here's the newest Forbes list of the world's richest people and puts Elon Musk at number 2 this year. Take a listen.
The annual ranking came out Tuesday and showed over 2,600 billionaires in the world, with the richest one being French fashion mogul Bernard Arnault of Louis Vuitton fame. Arnault is worth $211 billion. Former world's richest, Elon Musk, has dropped to second place this year with a fortune worth $180 billion. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is third with $114 billion. Rounding out the top 5 are Oracle chairman Larry Ellison with $107 billion and investing guru Warren Buffett with $106 billion. I'm Michael Kastner.
So I wonder now if Tesla will end up having a clothing division just because of that. Just something to think about. Anyways, that's going to end our time with the show, so I appreciate it. If you want to hang out, I'll be going over to Radio Big at the top of the hour to do some music stuff if you want to come and hang out. If I can leave you with a deep thought today, think about what you're doing now. Yes, think about what you're doing now. There's a sequence there. You'll understand that later. Think about what you're doing now. It will take you places that you want to be. Anyways, thank you for being the best part of Safety FM and Radio Big, and that is the listener. I know who you are.
Duh.
You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast,